The billion-dollar gaming industry just launched a covert attack on the people fighting to protect your games, and what they tried to pull behind closed doors will shock you. In this video, I'm going to reveal the anonymous complaint filed against the Stop Killing Games movement, expose the dirty tactics the gaming industry is using to silence consumer advocates, and show you the shocking evidence that proves this entire attack was built on lies. Plus, I'll share the growing political support that has the industry so terrified they're resorting to these desperate measures. But before we get to the anonymous complaint, we need to talk about one of the biggest betrayals in gaming history. Jason Thor Hall, known as Piratesoftware, launched what can only be described as a coordinated misinformation campaign against the very gamers who trusted him. In August 2024, Hall dropped a bombshell video that would change everything. Despite having nearly 2 decades of industry experience at companies like Blizzard and Amazon, he used his massive platform to spread lies about the Stop Killing Games movement. His video got over 1.2 million views, and he explicitly stated he wouldn't sign even if he could. Here's where it gets really dark. Hall claimed the initiative was incredibly vague and damaging to the rest of our industry. He told his audience that Stop Killing Games would damage all live service games and prevent developers from creating MMOs and Battle Royale games. But here's the shocking truth. None of this was accurate. Ross Scott later revealed that Hall's video killed the movement's momentum. They had signatures pouring in until Hall's misinformation campaign started. Hall used his industry credibility to convince gamers that fighting for their own rights would somehow hurt gaming. But the most disturbing part? Hall had serious conflicts of interest he wasn't fully disclosing. During this entire controversy, he was serving as director of strategy for Off-Brand Games, Ludwig's publishing company. He had direct financial incentives to protect publisher interests over consumer rights. The gaming community saw through his lies. MoistCr1tikal spent 2 hours in a private conversation trying to correct Hall's misunderstandings, then made a devastating response video that got 2.5 million views. Major creators like Asmongold, PewDiePie, and Jacksepticeye all came out supporting Stop Killing Games, completely overwhelming Hall's influence. The backlash was so severe that Hall was forced to leave Off-Brand Games in July 2025. He lost over 110,000 subscribers on YouTube and faced such community rejection that he had to abandon his business partnerships. Instead of admitting his mistakes, Hall doubled down, even saying, "I hope your initiative gets everything that you asked for, but nothing you wanted," when the movement hit 1 million signatures. The ultimate irony? Hall's attack backfired spectacularly. His high-profile criticism actually gave Stop Killing Games the attention it needed to succeed, proving that sometimes the industry's own dirty tactics expose them more than any investigation could ever. Ross Scott, the creator of the Stop Killing Games movement, never expected to become a political target. His mission seems simple enough. When you buy a game, you should actually own it. Publishers shouldn't be able to destroy what you paid for by shutting down servers and making your games unplayable forever. The movement exploded in popularity, gathering over 1.2 million signatures through something called a European Citizens Initiative. This isn't just some online petition, it's an official EU mechanism that forces lawmakers to consider new legislation when enough people demand it. But Ross made one critical mistake. He underestimated how far the gaming industry would go to protect their profits. The attack came without warning. An anonymous complaint was filed with the EU Commission accusing the Stop Killing Games initiative of violating European regulations. The accusations were serious: false funding declarations and systematically concealing major contributions that could be worth up to 147,000 euros. The evidence against Ross? His own words about working 12 to 14 hours a day for weeks to promote the initiative. Someone had been watching, calculating, and building a case against him in the shadows. But here's where it gets interesting. The anonymous accuser made one fatal error. They forgot to check what the actual EU rules say. When Ross dug into the actual European regulations, he discovered something that completely obliterates the anonymous complaint. The EU rules explicitly state individuals providing non-financial support, such as volunteering, are not considered sponsors under the ECI regulation and do not need to be reported. Read that again. Individual volunteer time doesn't need to be reported, period. The anonymous accuser had built their entire case on a fundamental misunderstanding or deliberate misrepresentation of EU law. They tried to assign professional rates of 50 to 75 euros per hour to Ross's volunteer work, creating an imaginary debt that never existed under the actual regulations. Even better, the initiative organizers had already consulted with EU representatives in spring 2024 to make sure everything was above board. They got official confirmation that Ross's assistance was perfectly legal and didn't need to be reported. The industry had fired their shot and missed completely. But Ross felt the splash. The timing of this anonymous complaint reveals everything you need to know about the gaming industry's desperation. It came immediately after Video Games Europe, the industry's main lobby group representing giants like Ubisoft and Activision, released statements opposing the Stop Killing Games movement. But here's the shocking part. Video Games Europe doesn't even represent their own members properly. BNG, one of their supposed members, publicly stated they weren't consulted on VGE's position and completely disagree with their statement. Even Epic Games came out as non-committal on the issue, essentially distancing themselves from their own lobby group's position. This internal chaos shows an industry in panic mode. When your own lobby group can't get member companies to agree on a unified response, you know the foundation is cracking. The industry's public arguments are equally desperate. They claim that requiring basic end-of-life plans for games would be prohibitively expensive and create a chilling effect on game development. But as Ross points out, they're probably spending more money on lobbying against consumer rights than it would cost to actually implement these protections. While the industry wages its shadow war, something remarkable is happening in European politics. Members of parliament are lining up to support the Stop Killing Games initiative, including Nicolae Stefanuta, a vice president of the European Parliament. Stefanuta's public endorsement on social media exploded with 85,000 likes, proving this issue resonates far beyond gaming circles. His statement was simple but powerful. A game, once sold, belongs to the customer, not the company. This political momentum explains why the industry is getting so desperate. They're not just fighting consumer advocates anymore. They're fighting actual lawmakers who have the power to change the rules of the game forever. The anonymous complaint represents something much bigger than a legal technicality. It's the opening shot in what could become an all-out war between billion-dollar corporations and consumer rights advocates. Ross warns that this might just be the beginning. If the industry can't kill the initiative through legitimate means, they might resort to more serious smear campaigns. He's already preparing for the possibility that he might not be able to defend himself publicly if the attacks escalate. The core issue remains unchanged. When you buy a game, you should own it. Publishers shouldn't have the power to reach into your digital library and delete what you paid for. It's a principle so basic that it's shocking we even have to fight for it. But the industry's increasingly desperate tactics prove one thing. They know they're losing this fight, and they'll do whatever it takes to protect their ability to rob consumers. The thing is, this legal victory against the anonymous complaint is useless unless we understand what the industry will try next. They've shown they're willing to play dirty, and this was just their opening move. Watch this video next to see the shocking tactics other industries have used when consumer movements threaten their profits, because the pattern is always the same, and gamers need to be ready for what's coming.